Wow, look what just came. Now, my shop is about 40 yards from the house. I see people all the time whining about how heavy this particular box is. And let me tell you, you're right, that thing's heavy as hell. I'm like winded, all huffing and puffing and stuff. So let me see if I can't get you set up a little bit. What I got here, let me take a seat. Whew. What I got here is the Evolution 15-inch metal cutting chop saw with cast aluminum base. This is the S380CPS. Now, I know what you're thinking. Man, we've seen 100 reviews on this saw, but here's the difference. I bought this saw. I paid $449 with free shipping. I bought it on Amazon. I had a DeWalt abrasive chop saw, and before that I had a cheap name brand one. So the cheap name brand one ended up getting the power cord twirl smash into the concrete because it was such a piece of crap. And so I went out and I spent, you know, a couple $150 on a DeWalt, and I bought a few different abrasive blades, and it was no better. The problem with the abrasive blades is they're so weak, the thing would start cutting, and as you put pressure on it, it would just veer away from the center line of the cut. So you had to take your time, and it took forever. I went to cut some angle iron the other day, and I'd actually talked to my neighbor and said, you know, Chuck, if you don't come over here and get this DeWalt chop saw right now, I'm gonna swing it by the cord and smash it to death on the concrete. And he's like, oh, come on, man, don't do that. Just walk away from it. So I did. I pushed it over in the corner, and he laughed, you know, and he's like, if you really don't want it, I'll take it, but you know, you need it, so you might as well keep it. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. And you know, I was looking at this saw and thinking, man, you know, I'm gonna get it, but I got so many things that I need for the trucks and for Hell's Bell and for Bucket as far as that goes, and the van, and I just didn't want to spend the money on a tool. And then I went to cut something with it the other day, and I called him and I said, Chuck, come over right now and get this saw. You got like 5 minutes before it does the twirl and smash. And so he boogied over here, so I boogied over here and picked it up. And now I just gotta come through for him and find the other abrasive blade that's around here somewhere. And it was out of my hair. And then I was thinking, dang it, man, I really need that saw. And so this week I just ordered it while I was out at work, and it came, and here it is, and I'm sitting on it. And you cannot live in a shop that you do fabrication without a saw that will cut a straight line in a timely manner. And so this could be that saw. And if it is, I'm gonna be super happy because it really was only just under 500 bucks. And I hear the blade that comes with it's not super great, but J.C. Smith says if you put the Diablo blade on here, it makes it a ripper. And so I will be getting and testing the Diablo blade. J.C. Smith Projects, that dude has a ton of experience, man. He's probably got 100 trucks, and you know, if you've watched him on his channel, he's not afraid to do anything. And he says this is a good saw, and I believe him. And you know, I finally got one. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut right here on the floor. So, man, taking this thing out of the box, I'm actually pretty impressed. It's a little bit lighter weight than my old DeWalt. Is I'm going to I'm going to look it over. stuff that I know I'm not going to need again over in that pile. And I decided I was going to use this this box as a workbench. That mechanism that makes the guard open is a little clunky. I'm trying to think. I don't believe that the DeWalt even had a guard, and if it did, it might have been like this, and then when you got into your work, it would hit the tray, and the tray would move it up. But this one has like a clunky, this has got a pretty powerful spring on it. It's got kind of a clunky, dumpy, I don't really like that. But I am going to give it the benefit of the doubt. Now it does have this fancy schmancy chip tray. And so I believe this fancy schmancy tray just goes right in like this, and feels like it just goes in there like that. It's a little guide or something. It has a lock, see, so you would stick it in, give it a push, and then twist the lock, and then that stays in there. So I kind of like that. And then it also has, I've seen these. This is for round tubing. And this shows when cutting round or square tubing / box section at a 45, ensure that the rear fence is in position 2 or 3. So that's fancy, and that's something that I'm going to want to pay attention to, so I'll save that. This I think goes right like that, so when you got some round tubing or whatever, you know, it actually gives you a little support. I've seen them using that, which is kind of cool. Standard, you know, quick adjust with the, but I like that too, that triangle. My other one had just a single, I think. Can't really remember right now. So that's good. That's really cool. Let's see. I did take the manual out of the bag, only because it slid out when I took it out of the package. So I slid it back in, threw it over there on the floor. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I don't see an Allen key. Excuse me, a hex key that go on there. I thought they would attach one, but they didn't. So I'll get my own hex keys. I call them Allens. I use my Stanley knife, even though it's not a Stanley brand, it's a Snap-on. I use my Stanley knife to cut this packaging open. I'm just going to use my fingers. Like, thought maybe that was going to look pretty cool, and I was just going to slap it down in there and tighten it up that way. I'm going to tighten this too up. Wow, did you see that? That lock failed, and it almost motored through my fingers. I'm going to use the standard torque of 25 foot-pounds that my hand puts out on a hex key, and I think that'll be good enough. And I'm going to get a knife and cut that. I hate to cut those things. And trouble light. And you know, trouble lights that use glass bulbs back in the day, you'd have the thing would be hot and you'd be working on the car and you'd knock it off whatever you had it hooked on, and it would fall like 4 inches and go tink and break the bulb. I don't use them for a light, I use them for extension cord. So let me free rev this unit a little bit. Just see what I got. I got power, got the controls right here. Oh, it's got a little safety switch, so you can't just bump that thing. Oh, that thing's got some torque. Look at that thing torque. Dang near pops a wheelie. what I have noticed is that this motor has brushes. You know, I guess you can't really expect to have a fancy high horsepower motor that's also brushless, but this has brushes. It didn't come with any in the package. The last thing that I bought that did have had brushes was my magnetic base drill press, which I drilled 24 holes, I think, maybe 30 holes with it, and it's already running at half speed, which is super cool. Anyways, let's get back off this. The first thing that I didn't notice about the way it runs is I feel a little wubble, 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 wubble in the handle. Could be anything. Could be slight out of balance on that proprietary blade that comes. It kind of tries to go max RPM as soon as you pull the trigger. I would have rather seen a soft start, you know, so you hit it and be like, maybe have a light that tells you when it's at RPM, so it's soft start and then get to the RPM. This one hard starts kind of with a and it still takes a little bit to get to full RPM, and I think that's what they get it up to full RPM first, because it feels like there's a few seconds of lag, so you don't want to just put your piece in there because A, it's not going to cut as fast, B, it's really going to log down the motor trying to get to full RPM, and these blades are made to be used at a certain RPM, so it's going to wear the blade a little faster. So there's a lot of things about it. So remember, if I am successful on this first cut attempt, it's because I took the advice of other people. I just didn't go winging it. So let's see. What have I got that I want to cut? This is just 2x3 box tubing, 120 wall. And this is the stuff that I use to lengthen the frame on bucket, and also the cross member and like a bunch of other stuff for it. So I'm gonna do it long ways, and I'm just gonna snatch off, because this last piece I did excuse me, this last piece I did was from the abrasive saw, and it left like it's not square. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. So I'm just gonna squeeze it up against there and put some pressure on there just to test the screw. The screw's good. It's solid. Let's see if that'll even hit it. Yep, that's only gonna just barely take a blade width off, but that's really all I want to do is just square that up. So we'll get it running. You won't be able to hear me talk. I'm gonna try and talk while it's running, but you won't hear me. So I'm gonna get it up to maximum RPM before I go into the work. Now I'm going to tell you that right off the bat, that is pretty amazing. I would have never been able to, I don't care how careful you are, I would have never been able to cut this small amount off of any kind of tubing, angle, square, round, flat, because the abrasive wheel just cannot stay focused. Matter of fact, as soon as you start touching it, you can see the saw, you can see the abrasive wheel doing this, and it'll dance around and it'll keep falling off the edge, falling off the edge. This, it is hot though. They keep saying, oh, it's cool to touch. Nope, this is hot. This thing, you know, if your hands aren't tough and you pick this right up off the floor, it's gonna burn you. But let me just show you one more time. I mean, look at that. Look how, and this, you know, the phone can't even focus on it. It's so little. That thing is tiny. and it cut through there. Like you probably heard it. The thing about steel is it's not uniformly strong. You know, it's got some hardness in random areas, and you could hear it. It would start to cut, and then the blade would kind of sing as it was getting into something hard. And there were spots in there that was super soft. There were spots in there that were super soft, and spots that were hard. But let me just tell you what. That right there is pretty amazing. I just took a piece. Let me put on me spectacles so I can see it. That piece is actually less than a blade width. So I took 2 blade widths off of that box tubing. And I did take my time. I didn't try and bore it through there. I did just fill my boot up with shavings. So that's gonna be a treat all day long, having those shavings in there. But anyways, guys, there it is. It's the Evolution S, as in Sam, 380 CPS Charlie Papa Sierra. I do have a whole sock full of shavings, which is super cool. That was totally my fault. No fault of the saw. Definitely operator error. Super uncomfortable. Matter of fact, borderline gonna suck. But man, I'm impressed. I'm glad I bought it. Just one cut was all I needed to make. I don't know if you can see that. The thing is laser straight. It's not, there's barely even a burr. I mean, if you tried hard, you could cut yourself because there's just a very slight burr right there. So you could whack yourself, but it probably isn't even deep enough to make you bleed. Perfect. It's awesome. Super glad that I got it. I appreciate the fact that JC Smith Projects got one of these and tested it, because otherwise I wouldn't even consider buying this saw, because you know, when you buy a saw or a drill that's half the price of the competitors, it's usually a piece of crap. But there you have it, guys. I like it. It's going up on the bench, and I'm going to use it to death. So there's my review on the Evolution S380 CPS. It's pretty amazing. Granted, I only made one cut. That's all I needed to know, that it was better than any abrasive saw I ever used. I told you the price. Shipped to my door. I'm super happy with it so far. I will buy the blade that JC Smith recommends. It's the Diablo blade, just to have it for when this one burns up. These blades are about $100, if I remember looking. Abrasive blades, I think, were like what, $18, and you'd spend all day making that same cut to get a square one. These are $100. Maybe I could make 50 of these cuts. That'd be great. So if you watch just this part of the video, don't forget to click that like button, subscribe right there, click that bell icon down there, because that does something for me or something for you. And go out and get you one of these Evolution saws if you need to do any kind of chop saw work with metal. We'll see you.